Well, hey, you guys, back once again with my Flickers of Fear movie review. So, remember the last movie that I reviewed, which was the South Korean movie Exuma? And in that review, I said that I was kind of going through some of Shudder's newer, like, international movies because I hadn't been on there in a while and I wanted to, like, see what was out there. And this was another movie that kept coming up, like, I kept hearing a lot of buzz about it, so I finally got around to watching it. So this is a 2023 creature feature called Infested. Now this is a French film. It was initially released in its native country under the title Vermines, or Vermin, obviously. And this is actually the full-length directorial debut of Sebastian Vanacek, is I believe how you pronounce his last name. He's done shorts up to now, but this is his first full-length one. Now, this movie seems to have gotten, in the horror community and elsewhere, seems to have gotten, mostly like really positive reviews, and was actually quite financially successful when it was released theatrically in France. Obviously, I don't think it got a theatrical release here, it just went straight to Shudder in 2024. So I'm going to say if you love movies where a group of people are confined in like a limited space and being attacked by creepy crawlies, then you will probably find a lot to love in this movie. This movie actually, and I'm not the first person to bring this up, but this gave me a very distinct vibe of like Arachnophobia from 1990 mixed with Wreck from 2007, even though this is not found footage. There's also a little bit of a smattering of Attack the Block, the movie from 2011, even though this isn't sci-fi either. Like I said, it's a killer spider movie, essentially. But it did give me very strong Arachnophobia meets Wreck vibes, which will probably become clearer why that is, like as I kind of go on and explain what happens in the movie. Now, I'm going to say if you're in any way freaked out by spiders, you obviously might want to give this one a pass. There are a lot of spiders in this one, and some of them are big as hell, you know what I mean? I actually quite like spiders. I think they're quite cool and beautiful. So I'm not bothered by them. I'm not grossed out by them or anything like that. But if you are an arachnophobe, then yeah, you probably wouldn't want to watch this. Like I said, if I'm going to be grossed out by a creepy crawly movie, it's going to be cockroaches. Like spiders don't bother me that much. So the director, Vanacek, he kind of said that he wanted to add kind of another layer of depth to this, essentially just a killer spider movie. He wanted to utilize a setting similar to where he grew up, and he kind of wanted to low-key explore themes of xenophobia. What he was doing was kind of essentially drawing a parallel between the trapped, kind of lower-income, multi-ethnic residents in this building and the invading spiders who are just kind of trying to survive in an environment they're not native to. You know what I mean? It's not super heavy-handed or anything, but you can kind of tell that that's sort of in there. And I think that that's more obvious, like with the original title, which was Vermin, which, you know what I mean, is kind of more, suggests that more than the title Infested does. Infested is just the title it was released under in the US. Gonna say the spiders in the movie are really decent looking considering how low the budget was on this. They are a blend actually of real spiders and CGI. The real spiders, which I believe they use giant huntsman spiders, some of them look like brown recluses. I'm not entirely sure because I'm familiar with those. I'm from Florida and we have those here. But the spiders were either used as they really were or they were digitally blown up, like to get larger proportions when that needed to happen. Like a lot of the spiders are just regular size, but there are various sizes of them, and they just use real spiders, but just digitally enlarge them. So the movie starts out with kind of like a cold open, and it's set somewhere in like a desert in the Middle East. And there's a group of dudes who are just searching this barren landscape, presumably for the spiders that are going to factor into the story, like going forward. So one of them seems to find what appears to be like a prime-looking spider hole, like under a rock, and he throws some of this poison gas down there, and basically gets a face full of instant karma. Like when this big old spider like kind of jumps out of the hole and like right at him, you know what I mean? So this is where it's established that these spiders are exceedingly venomous because the guy begins dying horribly, like pretty much immediately, right? So his compatriots that are with him, they're just like, all these other spiders like kind of scramble out of the hole. So obviously they're here to catch them. So they're putting them in containers and shit like that. And then they kind of let their buddy suffer for a while. And then they hack him to death with a machete, to put him out of his misery. So then we jump to this kind of tower block type building in suburban Paris. Now, this is something of an ensemble cast, but our main protagonist is a young man named Caleb, who lives with his sister, Manon, in this apartment, which I presume once belonged to their mother, and their mother has passed away, like, not too long before. Now, the two of them, you know, they're siblings, and they're kind of constantly at odds. They're always arguing. Like, Manon is actually doing renovations on the flat and, like, waking Caleb up at inconvenient hours. I mean, to be fair, he does sleep till, like, noon, so you know what I mean. But one of the kind of asshole things she does is she has a tendency to, like, turn the lights and heaters off in the tanks that he has, like, this menagerie of exotic bugs and reptiles and various other things. And she keeps turning the lights off because it's, you know, the electric bill is too high or some shit like that. And he's upset about it, obviously, because, like, they're his pets and they could die and all this other kind of stuff, which, like I said, that's kind of shitty of her. Now, Caleb, on the other hand, see, he's, like, a good guy. Like, he's an honorable guy. He likes to help his neighbors out and stuff like that. But he also trades in what I presume are, like, black market sneakers and possibly stolen goods. They might be stolen. I mean, I'm pretty sure. Because he does kind of hang out with other dudes who are, like, thieves and maybe drug dealers. So near the beginning of the movie, Caleb goes to this store that he, you know, obviously frequents. And he wants to buy a really nice pair of earrings for this upstairs neighbor that they have named Claudia, who they all are really, everybody loves her in the building. And she's going to move out of the building, so she's having a going away party. So when Caleb is in the store, he asks the owner, whose name is Ali, who's also his friend, obviously. It's like, you know, don't show me any of this cheap shit that you sell, like the people in the front. It's like, show me the good stuff. I know you have good stuff in the back. So Caleb goes in the back and he finds this really nice pair of earrings for Claudia. But while he's back there, Ali also has all of these exotic animals, like snakes and frogs and bugs and things like that. And Caleb is intrigued by this small spider in this plastic container, which is kind of on the racks, like, along with all of these other little creatures. So, you know, obviously, just as in France, just as in the United States, it's technically kind of illegal to, you know, own or trade in exotic animals or, you know, things of this nature. But Caleb really, really wants this spider because he thinks she's beautiful. So he buys the spider for, like, I don't even know how much it was. It was like 80 euros or something like that. And he takes her back to the apartment to, like, meet his other little pets. Now, when he gets the spider home, he obviously loves, like, all of his animals. Like, he's always talking to them and reassuring them and things like that. So he's just like, he puts her, like, he has this shoebox and he puts, like, all these tissues in it and stuff. And he's like, you know, this is just temporary. I'm going to get you a good tank and all this other kind of stuff. So he does all that and talking to her all nice and everything. And then he has to run out on an errand. Now, as you might have surmised, as soon as Caleb goes out, this plucky little spider pretty much wastes no time, like, chewing right through the side of the cardboard box and escaping out into the wider world. You know, that's gratitude for you, I guess. So when Caleb comes back, he's actually heartbroken to find that she's, you know, his little spider has absconded. And he looks all over the place for her, and he doesn't find anything except for this kind of ominous cocoon that she left on the back of this old picture frame. Uh-oh. Now, shortly after this, Caleb delivers this very distinctive and very ugly pair of sneakers to his cranky neighbor, Tumani. And again, as you might have guessed, the spider was hiding in one of the sneakers. So when Tumani puts the sneakers on, he gets bitten on the foot and dies a very gruesome and very goopy death. And this is later discovered by the other residents of the building and eventually by the police. So once the cause of Tumani's death is established as the result of a bite from a very venomous and also ridiculously fast reproducing species of spider, the authorities pretty much lock down the building to prevent the spiders from, like, infesting the entire neighborhood. This is kind of where the similarities to Wreck are really, like, come to the forefront, you know? So they're essentially, like, trapping all the residents inside with millions, possibly millions, of these dangerous spiders who are not only super venomous, like I said, but they can also grow to, like, the size of a large dog, if need be. Like I said, they're not all gigantic. Some of them are just regular size, but they kind of explain something to do with, like, a particular life cycle. Like, some of them need to get big for whatever reason. So some of them are big, but some of them are just regular spider size. So Caleb and his sister, Manon, actually team up with Manon's friend, Lila's boyfriend, Jordy, who actually used to be Caleb's best friend and they were going to start like a reptile farm together because they're both like really into exotic animals. But then at some point in the past, they had a falling out, so they're kind of estranged at this point. And Caleb also has another friend who is a bike thief named Mathis, and all of them kind of get together. They don't want to stay in this building that's, quickly filling up with aggressive and venomous spiders. So the first thing they try to do is try to convince the other residents to join them in trying to get out, like past the barricades and past the cops and everything. Because like I said, just like in Wreck, they're just completely closed in. But most of the tenants are older, and they're like, well, no, the cops said that we need to stay in here, stay in our apartment. It's like we should just stay put and wait for help to arrive. Now, the younger, Caleb-led gang kind of knows how bullshit that attitude is. So they are, pretty much the entire second, third act of the movie is them attempting to battle their way through these armies of spiders to get out of the building. So yeah, overall, the setup and execution of this, it's pretty standard as far as creature features go. But honestly, it's like really, really fantastic. Very tense, very well acted. I will admit that it took me a little while to kind of warm to the characters. Initially, they seem a little bit abrasive, and particularly kind of the 3 or 4 friends like on the periphery take a little while to differentiate themselves from one another. But once I got sucked into all of their drama, I was all in. And I will admit that there is even one scene, like later on in the movie, like in the third act or something, where one character is being essentially like slowly devoured by the spiders, and the rest of his friends are just completely helpless, and they can't do anything except listen to his agonized, dying screams like coming through these air ducts. And that scene, that was how I knew that I had gotten like invested in these characters, even though I wasn't at first, because it actually like made me tear up a little bit just because of their reactions, like listening to this fucking horrible screaming. And it was just like, it was so awful. I think that was probably like the best scene in the movie, like in terms of emotional impact. Like it really did a number on me. So yeah, if you're in the mood for some good old-fashioned spider mayhem with a kind of a side of poignant character drama, like I said, something like Arachnophobia meets Wreck with a little bit of Attack the Block in there. It's not super, super gory, but there is like some goopy like special effects and stuff like that. There's kind of some gross spider stuff, like spiders coming out of people and things of that nature, but it's not super bloody or anything like that. But if that sounds like a good time, then Infested should definitely be on your watch list. It's one of the better creature features that I've seen lately. And as I mentioned, it's on Shudder, at least as of early August 2024. I believe it's also on Amazon Prime, but I think you have to pay $3.99 to rent it. But it's totally worth it. It's a pretty good fucking movie, especially if you like killer spider movies. And that will do it for this movie review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys again on the next one. Bye.